You don't need a lifetime to build a self-sustaining business, one that actually operates without you, but thrives with you. Freedom comes when you invest in your people, and you lead with purpose, and you streamline your operations. Hi, I'm Harrison Tash, and with me today is Jason, and we're actually going to be talking about the framework that we use, the 8 to Great. But more specifically, we're going to be talking about healthy leadership today and the foundational 4.
You don't want to never count yourself out, make it a great one. Just be sure to leave out the doubt, time to wake up.
All right, so first I got to tell a story though, because when I think of healthy leadership, I actually start to think about, these different stories that help us accumulate. What is it actually? And I always go to the opposite first because it helps me form it, right?
What it's not.
Yeah, what it's not. So I want to talk about, I'll call him Mike, but Mike was this just high performer, just, anything that the company had, Mike would just gobble it up. I mean, he was just high performer. Everyone talked about Mike, his work ethic, what he did, just, he was just outstanding. And his peers would always talk about how Mike was the next president, Mike was the next one in line. But then when you dug deep a little bit and you're just like, okay, what makes Mike who he is? What I started to find was that his team felt like they were just in his shadows. And that can be normal, right? I mean, he's a high performer and you could feel like maybe I'm not amounting to that. But I think where the story turns is where people would feel like they weren't heard, they weren't seen. Mike never asked about the weekend. Mike never knew family members' names. Mike was just all about company results, project results. And so when I think about this high performer, I think that oftentimes we can get stuck in this, that we choose performance over people. And I don't think it's an or, right? I think it's an and.
You definitely would want it to be an and. As you think about healthy leadership, it's people who can perform, but they're not a lone wolf.
Right.
They're not about their own results, and they don't leave their team behind. Being a part of a team, you don't want to feel like you're insignificant. You talked about not being heard. So healthy leadership is not indicative of being a high performer only.
Right.
What you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So then, take that story and then go into why is this so important? Why do we care so much about a leader being healthy? And what do we mean by it?
Well, for me, when I think some of the things that come to mind when I think about healthy leadership is something that is both caught and taught.
Yeah.
And so when you surround yourself, or if you go after high performers only, and they're not modeling what you want to see in your culture, they're not modeling that leadership that you want to see taught or caught by others, that's exactly what's gonna happen if you attract that type of model only. So they're gonna begin to teach others, if you want to be celebrated, if you want to be accepted, if you want to be noticed around here, this is how you act.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to begin to fragment a team and isolate a number of people, and they're going to think the only way that I will be noticed is if I'm out for me.
Yeah.
So healthy leadership, you want someone who can, both teach and a model, so that others can learn and replicate what you want to see in your culture.
Yeah, and at the heart of it, we all want to grow our businesses, whether by revenue, by people, by development of becoming stronger, streamlining. We talk about all these components, and it all really hinges on healthy leadership. Because if you want to grow your business, you want all those things in your business, you're going to have healthy leaders who then can scale your business with you, and they replicate. So you talk about, you spread this culture of what not to do. You now replicate what you want in your business.
Right. Yeah, it's a good foundation to be able to have multiple people who are carrying what you carry inside you. When you talk about sustainability and scalability, it's not going to happen with 10 mics.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's good. Way to bring that back. That's awesome. All right. So let's talk about really the meat of healthy leadership. This is the meat and potatoes, as they say, right? So the gig. Every healthy leader has a gig. And so let's talk about that a little bit, of what it means to be a part of the gig, to live out the gig, and let's go into that a little bit and explain it.
I remember when you came up with this, you were really excited, actually.
Well, you like these thoughts. Okay, it was just me, yeah. But
you were excited, and it's good because it's memorable.
Yeah.
It is memorable. But it was I think one of the reasons you were excited is because it was accessible, simple, and clear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So break it down.
Well, okay, I'm going to add to that real quick. When I can remember it, I'm like, yes, everyone will remember this. I like feel like I got a goldfish mind sometimes. So, yeah, so the gig. So grow, invest, guide. That's the gig. Grow, invest, guide. So when we talk about spreading this culture that helps you scale a business to get to that next milestone of revenue and people, you have to have leaders who want to grow and invest and guide. But there's a lot more to this, so let's break it down. So grow, it's twofold here first. So it's always about how are we developing ourselves, and then also how are we developing the people around us?
Yeah.
The people on our teams, the opportunity we get to lead those people, right?
Right.
So that's in essence what the gig is. And we look at this and we think, this is too simple. Well, does this even work? I mean, I'm looking for this crazy thought that I haven't heard before, but that's the thing. The simple things are often the hard things to continue over time consistently, and they pay off. All right. So let's talk about grow. What is grow? Why is it important? What does it mean? So when we talk about grow as being a mindset, what do you think of?
I actually love that you started there because I think there's a natural tendency to talk about, well, let's grow our business or let's grow our teams numerically.
Yeah.
But if you're not growing something within, you're only going to go wider, and it's not going to have the depth that you need to sustain the width of your growth. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it has to begin with mindset. So growth mindset, we're talking about I can learn something. It's not, instead of having this mindset or in your culture, we've always done it this way. We can learn new ways to do it.
Yeah.
We can't overcome this. We can figure out a way to achieve this.
Yeah.
So this growth mindset that says I can learn, I can adapt, I can be flexible. Not just me, but our team. Our team can be flexible. Our team can adapt to any situation. Together we can figure it out. It takes a growth mindset. I love that you started with that.
Well, let's think about this too in a little bit of different context. So when this is for ourselves, we grow our mindset, but this model is twofold. So how do you help people grow in their mindset? And that's the part that I think can get a little hard, is when you're like, I know you have it. That's why I put you in a leadership position. But what about your team? And so how you permeate that is kind of like what you're saying earlier, is like they replicate your action. So there's an action piece here. So there's three parts that I think are important to talk about: ability, awareness, and improvement. So first, we can't negate this, but you have to have the ability first. And so everyone on your team has to be assessed for some ability of what they're doing. And we've talked about this on other videos where you have like this very introverted person and you're like, go sell our business to people. It's like, well, this isn't going to work. They don't want to meet 1,000 people.
Passion only takes you so far.
Yeah.
You can have the will to do it, but the skill to do it is what's going to make it grow. So grow the ability.
So first, grow the ability. Know where you are now, know what you need, and you have to look at those natural God-given skills and talents first. Like, do they have the motivation to want to do it? So ability.
Yeah, it's good.
All right, awareness. Now this is a big one, and I think we all need awareness. Like, there's a level of awareness that we all need, and there's different ways of doing this, right? We use DISC, Strength Finders, Live Style, all these different kind of personality assessments that help us have awareness. Yeah. But as it is awareness for us, it's awareness for our people. I think the question is how do you get good at this?
Yeah, I think you have to have curiosity. I also think you have to have resilience, because you're going to get bruised a little bit. That's just part of leadership. You're going to get bruised. Your ego, and so when you have this awareness of others, you're starting to find value in others. When you begin to recognize who they are, they begin to recognize what they have.
Yes, good stuff.
And now this team cohesion really begins to go, and all of a sudden you learn, like, oh, it's not about me and I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
No, but you're going further and faster. So I think you develop trust is what I guess that's what we're getting to. When you start growing awareness of those around you and your team, and understand who you have as a team and the gaps that you have on your team and the strengths that you have and the weaknesses, and you can begin to trust one another in those, you start going further and faster together.
Well, you alluded to it, but awareness forces and then forge trust, but forces vulnerability.
That's right.
Right. And that's a hard thing. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like, well, wait a minute, like don't read that one.
Yeah.
Don't read that paragraph.
Yeah.
But I think when we have these conversations with, executives and we're like, okay, we have to start here and let's talk about what you're aware of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing is that a lot of people are actually aware of those things, those, whatever it is. I'm an engineer brain, so I don't like really, doing the whole people side of business. I'm a people side of guy, and I don't really like to do the detail side of business. So when you look at this, they know this a lot of times. So this is where improvement comes in. So if you want a growth mindset, it's got to be ability, awareness, and improvement. And so improvement is, how do we help each other improve on these things that we identify that either strengths that need built on or, some of these development opportunities that we need to shore up.
I think one of the questions you can ask if you're doing well at this, if you have this, is just ask, do you have a feedback system?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And is it trusted?
It's the water cooler,
Yeah.
Now, that may not be the best. How do we get it in writing, right? How do we put it into something that helps us hold each other accountable to it? Yeah, no, that's a great point, because the water cooler talks get forgotten after you go home. Actually, I just say, I blinked, so I forgot. I can't keep up with all the things. We have to have a mechanism for that feedback. Yeah, good point. All right, so let's talk about of the gig. We just talked about grow, ability, having ability, awareness, and improvement. Now we're talking about the I of the gig, which is invest. Let's talk a little bit about invest. Okay. So the importance of dedicating time and energy for your team, which none of us have time on our side. It is a balanced approach of personal and professional, I think, in some ways, right? So I think in the investment side, what is it for? It's to invest in them as a human. It's to invest in them, not only just the personal side, but also the professional side of, what are we to work on? Where do we see you going? And so you kind of have this gap of, here's what we need as a company. And I think that's a great part to start, is what's the needs of the company. Sometimes we start at like, what do you have to contribute? And then we try to fit it in.
Right.
And I think the investment part needs to start with, what are the needs of the company? Because if we can see that, then we can see where they are and try to, help them get to the point of where they want to go and where we need to go.
I think that's what's smart, intuitive, intelligent about gig. When you started with grow, you talked about ability, awareness, and improvement. Invest in their ability.
Yeah.
Invest in the improvement.
Yeah.
Invest in the awareness piece. Like, in this job, in this project, I became aware that you're really good at, and we have a need for.
Yeah.
I saw that you had a propensity. I saw that there was something dynamic about the way you handled. I really admired how you, and so you're aware of their skills. You're being present with them throughout their daily or their project management or whatever they're doing. And you can pull that out and invest in that to the needs of the company. And now you're improving, not just their own professional development, but you're improving your ability to grow as a company. So I love that the invest comes after those three things.
Well, as you were just talking about that, I think that that's a big piece of it with the investment of the people side of it. But I just thought of the story of Brad when you're saying that. And this story is why it's an and on time and energy. I've worked with many people that have this kind of trait where they just move fast. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you can't balance that with, I got all this energy in the world, but if you can't balance it and say, but I have time for you, then you feel like you're being negated as a person when you're working with this person. And so Brad was like this for me. Brad was this guy that would just come zipping by the offices, and you'd always give a hi, what's going on? And then he'd be gone, and I remember one time specifically, I was like, Brad, I need your help, man. Like, I need you to help me lead this. It's for the whole department. It's a big deal. I need your time. He's like, absolutely. Call me. I'm going to hop in my truck and just call me. And I'm like, yes, finally. I get Brad for a pause for a second. He's on his way to somewhere. It's going to take him 30 minutes or more. I can call him and we'll just talk it out. Brad hops in his truck and I call him and it's beep, beep. It's like that. He's on the other line. I'm just like, oh, my Lanta. Like, never called me back, right? And I think sometimes we get these individuals who are moving fast, and that's why it's time and energy. But on the flip side, if you have all the time in the world and no energy,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, to your point, I don't care what, that's not the great way to say it. Whatever business we're in the human business.
Yeah.
Whatever you're selling, whatever you're making, whatever you're developing, whatever it is that you're going to market with, whatever cause it is that you're trying to meet the need of, whatever problem you're solving, you're in the human business. And so being present and investing.
That's a great word, present, right?
Relational equity. Relational equity is what's going to manage through the chaos. It's going to manage the tension. It's going to build the trust. It's going to allow those opportunities for you to have crucial conversations.
Yeah.
So if you're not taking time to invest in the human side of our business, we're not going to be able to scale. Because you're not going to take people with you. You're always leaping over them. When you leap, you leave people behind. When you take steps, you bring people with you.
It
takes relational equity.
Well, I like when you're bringing this up about, okay, how are we going to scale then as a business? Like, if you don't have people that you've invested in, if you haven't given them the growth mindset and you haven't invested in them, then there's no way you're going to be able to do this as a company.
Absolutely.
Right? So let's talk about the second G. So you have grow, invest, and now guide.
Yeah.
And guide is like the stewarding the relationship. Guiding it's not putting your hands into everything, but it's also not avoiding, right? So guiding is just stewarding this relationship that you have and investing in your people. Now let's guide them.
I think for leaders, this is probably the hardest.
Yeah.
For many leaders, this one is the hardest of that line between, I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to dictate. I don't want to tell.
Yeah.
And so in guide, what you're learning to do is lead with influence. And you're trying to influence behavior, influence decisions, influence ideology and a mentality. And that's hard because you're really putting yourself in the second chair. You're in the first chair, but you're putting yourself in the second chair to lead with influence more than with direction.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like if you've ever had a kid learn how to ride a bike, it's like you just want to grab it and hold on to it, but you got to let it go and they're going to fall. But you could either ride the bike on concrete or you can ride it in the grass for a little bit, right? We have these different ways of putting safety nets around our people so that we don't, when we fall or they fall, we don't allow it to break the company in some way.
One of the things that I found that's helped me grow in this over time, and I have a long way to go, but again, my steps have been.
Don't we all?
Yeah, and it's good. Be a learner.
Yeah.
Always be a learner. One of the things that helped me is to define my scope of leadership in this and their scope of leadership. So in these areas, just check in with me. I just want to be aware.
Yeah.
In these areas, let's discuss together. Discussions, not decisions.
Yeah.
But I want to be a part of the discussion.
Yeah.
In these areas, I'm here if you need me, but you got it. And so if you're doing that over time, that your trust, now I'm investing in that person. Your G and your I.
Yeah.
Over time, those begin to grow and shift of what discussions I need to be a part of, what decisions I need to be a part of, and then where I'm trusting them begins to grow. And so now I can begin to multiply other pieces of the business because I have trusted leadership over time.
Well, I just had this image as you're talking about that is, you have those three categories and it's like it starts moving and one grows, which is I trust that you have this. And you know this when you have someone that's been there forever, 10 plus years, 20 plus years, you're like, yeah, they got it. They're good. They've grown into their own leadership. But what if we could do this faster?
Right.
Because we've learned, and I think that if a healthy leader is one that is actually paving a path that is faster than what it took you.
Yeah.
That's a sign of a healthy leader, right?
Absolutely. I have three people on one of the teams that I get to be a part of. The three of the people on the team, they just look at me like, I know, got it. And they know the three most important things that matter to me.
Yeah.
And like, I got it. And we just know we don't even have to slow down now to have the conversation because we've had it so long.
Yeah.
So when you talk about being able to move faster.
Right?
All right.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right, so the gig is encompassed and it doesn't get momentum without these two things though. And this is what encompasses it. Accountability and the ability to, or the willingness, I should say, to learn from anyone or anything. Now, I think we kind of understand anyone. Like, I'm willing to learn from the new guy. I'm willing to learn from, it doesn't matter, anyone. I'm willing to learn from anyone. But what does it mean to learn from anything? These situations that we see. Like, and I think there's probably good examples of this, but
Both of them are tough. Accountability, ouch. Good. I want to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
But when you're held to accountability, it's a
Right.
two-way street. So
two-way
accountability
street
is
in the
fun.
gig, yep.
And then learning. What I've learned in life, and I have to continue to hold myself accountable to this, is very seldom. It's really not about the who. And we make it about the who too much.
Yeah.
It's not about the who. And it's not even about the what. It's about the why.
Yeah.
And because if we can understand, well, why'd you make that decision? What led to that decision, or what happened there?
Yeah.
You can then begin to talk about, or how, of how did we get here?
Yeah.
And take the who out of the room and just really begin. Now you're going to develop some trust, and then you're learning. You both are learning. I learn how you communicate now.
Yeah.
I learn how you listen. I learn how you learn.
Yeah.
And then we also learned a principle about our business, or an efficiency, or a system.
Well, practically speaking, when you say the why, when you hold someone accountable, hey, this is why I'm going to tell you this. Okay. Like, if we don't correct this kind of thing in our company, whether it's how you talk to a customer, or if it's how you filled out something in the process, if we don't correct this, small things will ravel up the big things. The why is because we need consistency in our business in order to grow, in order to develop as a company. And giving that why has to be put in a way to where they understand it.
Yeah.
Right?
Good.
If you say, well, I'm going to give you the why, because if you don't do this, our profits won't be as high and I won't get as big as bonus this year, right? It has to be relatable, and it needs to be, I guess, in line with the values of the company.
Yeah.
And
when I think about learning, some things that came to mind as you were talking, and I guess I could use a fun example with, growing up. Maybe it's your kid, one of your kids, and you asked them to clean their room and they didn't, and you could use this line, why didn't you clean your room?
Yeah.
And they're going to get defensive because you're questioning them. You're not asking them a question; they feel questioned.
Hold on, I'm actually learning right now. Keep going.
And then the other way to say it is, I noticed your room didn't get cleaned. What's it going to take for it to get cleaned before dinner? What's it going to take?
Okay.
What do you need to do to get it cleaned before you go to bed tonight?
Pin here for a second. This is good. This is good. I like it.
So we translate that when we're sitting around, whether it's we're looking at our company goals or our team goals, KPIs, whatever they are. Instead of saying, why didn't you hit your goals?
Yeah.
Why didn't we achieve this? Why didn't this get done on time?
What's it going to take?
What's it going to take? What happened that caused this? So
Yeah.
we're coming in with curiosity. We're coming in trying to learn.
But it is accountability.
There is accountability in it.
Yeah, I really love that. Yeah, that's good stuff.
So now maybe we're going to identify some obstacles or barriers that we didn't see before, but because we approached it together, taking the who out of the room.
Yeah.
It's not about who.
Yeah.
But let's look at it together. What would it take to do it faster next time? Now we're asking, what do you need?
Yeah.
What was missing?
Yeah.
And so now we're learning together and we can move forward together.
So gig, grow, invest, guide. It's a two-way street. You and them. We have to grow, invest, and guide us, them. It's also encompassed by accountability, willing to learn from anyone, anything. What happens when we don't do this? We would call this, if we don't have this as the essence of your leadership, we would say there is unhealthy leadership happening. What happens to companies when they have unhealthy leaders leading?
That feels rhetorical.
I don't know. Was I leading you on?
No, I'm thinking like, do we really have to answer that?
Yeah.
Like, do you really not know what happens
Yeah.
if you don't invest in people, if you don't work together as a team, if you just run forward without them?
Well, you know what? Let's ask it differently then, because you're right. It is a leading question. Let's ask it like this: why do we do it then? why do we allow unhealthy leaders in our organizations? Which we know we do. It's not, I mean, you could be listening to this right now saying, I don't allow unhealthy leaders. The thing is, we're humans, and we will have a natural tendency to be selfish. We will have a natural tendency to move in the opposite direction sometimes.
That's good.
So then why do we allow it? Or what do we do to not allow it in our companies?
There's got to be a really good list. And how about I think of one and you think of one.
That's how we're going to do this?
let's just add at least some fodder here. I think one of the obstacles is, you mentioned it at the beginning on the onset of this, I don't have the time to invest. I can't slow down.
Yeah.
And you just feel the weight of, like, I got to keep
moving
the business
fast.
growing. Yeah. And so
moving fast.
I can't take time to invest in me.
Yeah.
I can't take time to invest in our team. We got to kind of, and so you keep adding, you compound the problem by ignoring it, but you think, like, we live in a one-day mentality.
Yeah.
One day or someday.
Yeah.
And that someday never comes, and all it does is compound on problems. And so I think it really is just do I see myself as worthy enough? Do I see my business worthy enough to invest in?
Yeah. No, that is an excellent answer. And I think it's true. We move fast and we don't choose to reflect on it. We don't choose to say, like you said, I think we have this little thing in the back of our head where it's like, we'll figure it out one day. Yeah. We'll figure it out one day.
Let's quick fix it. Let's hire 10 mics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're getting stuff done. All right. So then the other thing so you made me come with one. Here's mine. I think that sometimes we actually don't recognize it sometimes because they're kind of just flying under the radar. They're good at covering it sometimes. And I could put myself in that spot. I'm good at, like, pretending like, okay, I do care, but I am moving fast. Like, I do have a lot to do. So, hurry up and tell me the story.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we do fly under the radar of, like, we put on a facade sometimes. We try to make it work, but we don't truly immerse ourselves in what healthy leadership is.
Lack of intentionality.
Yeah. So anyways, okay, let's end this with some emphasis on some things that we talked about. We talked about the importance of, without healthy leadership, you're not going to scale your business the way you want. You will be stifled in your growth if you don't invest in your people, if you don't grow, invest, and guide yourself, but also hold people accountable and being willing to learn from anything. Right. It's a posture of learning, right? So when we talk about that, I think the challenges for companies is really to help assess their leaders. Maybe that's together as a group. What would you give as, like, some good suggestions on how you do this well?
Well, I think you got to start with you. I think you should always start with you, and I think you should start with some trusted people around you. Do you have a trusted relationship? And if you don't have one where you work, find the next best person that's closest to you, and ask some honest questions. Get that feedback system about you.
Yeah.
And maybe even just being able to identify what are your own pain points. And put words to it. What are the pain points for you, or your team, or your business organization? Really, so I would say start with you, and then start with your team, and I think it has to begin with vulnerability.
Yeah.
Guys, we've had a good year.
Yeah.
Things they've gone well. But to grow where I see that we can be, we need to be transparent with ourselves.
Yeah.
And really identify what are the key barriers or obstacles that are keeping us from that. And so I think if you start with you and your team, you're going to begin to find your way. And I don't want to go too deep in the answer.
Yeah,
but I guess if I just stayed there, like,
vulnerability.
That's right.
Identify it on your own, but then also invite people in.
Yeah.
So if you want to assess your own leadership, we do have a healthy leadership gig assessment that you can take. It's available online. We'll have it in the show notes. And I think this is a great start to just see, okay, like, where am I at? And then have your leaders take it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, have them take it, go through it. It's simple. It's a simple little calculation you do, and it just gives you a starting point for conversation.
Perfect.
Goals never die, souls gotta fly high. I'm taking off to the sky, and with every day that goes by, I'm making sure that it counts. It don't matter what's the amount, you only get now.